It's a really strong antibiotic, and that again shields your brain from getting the ammonia and those toxins into it. Um, and then I wound up going home, and less than a week later, I wound up throwing up, getting very sick to my stomach, and I wound up throwing up blood, and I wound up being diagnosed with portal hypertension, which is the portal vein is your main vein that goes into your liver, and that vein had gotten restricted because the fluid can't go into the liver, the blood can't go through the liver as well. So what happens is your body starts creating new roads, kind of like taking a dirt road. It creates these veins called varices, and they're very dangerous, and they go through your esophagus and everything, and they can burst and break open. Um, and then in some cases, you can actually bleed out from it internally, and that would cause you death as well. Um, so I wound up throwing up, some blood and everything, and they brought me in, and they did an endoscopy, and they had to what they call banding. They basically, shut those varices off with like a tight rubber band. Um, so then I went through. They actually banded five of them, and then I was in the hospital a little bit longer. Then I was out, and then my lung filled up again. So they pulled the fluid out, sent me home, called me back, and said we need you back at the ER because your fluid was had a bacteria in it. So my fluid, my that was in my lungs was a positive for staph infection, and so I had to sit there. I was hospitalized again. Got out of the hospital. Less than a week later, I was back with more fluid on my lung. They pulled the fluid out then. That wound up being infected as well. Then again, I got to go home eventually, and then it filled up again. So this time they put a chest tube in, and I was stuck in the hospital for 3 weeks. My body wasn't responding. Um, I was pretty much to the point where they said that if everything stays the way it was, I've got a 70% chance of death in the next 90 days, and this was August. Um, so and and then I had the chest tube in for a while and everything, and finally I said, this ain't the way I'm going down, and I didn't have much energy, but I just got up and fought, and I said, called the nurse, and I said I want to walk. I said I want to move. I don't want to sit in this bed and just sit here to wait to die. So um, she helped me up and carried my IV for me, and uh, we walked a little bit, and I was kind of out of breath and came back, and I just kept doing this and kept doing this and kept doing this, and eventually some of these numbers started getting a little bit better. Um, but oh, and then I wound up in the hospital one more time with some fluid, and that was in September. Luckily, I have not been hospitalized yet again since. Um, I still kind of sit with a 50-50 chance of dying within the 90 days, with the liver and the way it is. Although I'm doing much better and much more stable than I was at that point in time. So right now I'm doing everything I can to be able to get a liver transplant. There are a lot of different things that you have to do. You have to sign contracts saying you're not going to drink, which I haven't had a drink since April of last year either, anyway. Um, like I said, nor did I even drink that long. Some people have some family history, some genetic markers that can cause this stuff as well, which looks like maybe a little bit of a case with me as well too. Um, but you know, who knows? So follow the rules. I had to leave with where I lived in Wisconsin and move to my sister's home, which was about 10 hours away, to stay with her, and had to leave my kids behind in order to hopefully get a liver transplant because I didn't have anybody to support system to take care of me after the liver transplant. So they decided that they weren't going to give me a liver at that point in time. because, like I said, I had no support system. So I've given up my vehicle. I have 3 hernias. Those are from the walls of the muscles of the stomach breaking from them becoming so weak and so much fluid being on them at the time. And that's very painful. I live with that. So it's like I'm unable to work. The I will tell you, it's if you can catch it before, a lot of it's reversible. Mine was to the point where it's just not. And it's tough. It's a hard thing to deal with from day to day, especially not being able to see my kids. I haven't seen my kids in almost 4 months. But if I, given up a little bit of time now, might mean a longer chance to be able to be with them in the future. Whereas if I do nothing, I have maybe a max of a couple years, and it's already been almost a year. So I'm going to keep fighting and do everything I possibly can. The hard part is not having an income or a car or anything like that, because I had to give up my car because it needed work and stuff like that, and it wasn't going to make the trip. So, so if anyone has any questions, feel free to leave a comment and ask. Sorry if this seemed a little bit of jumbled or what have you, or gone kind of fast. I will try to do a few more of these videos if anyone would like, about the process of going through to get the transplant and the things involved in having to get there. And like I said, if you're dealing with depression, a lot of times that's a tough thing to deal with on your own. We tend not to want to reach out when we are. We kind of want to hide. Don't hide. Talk to somebody. I don't care who it is. Reach out to someone. There are help centers in every town. I mean, just reach out and talk to someone and look for help. But if you find yourself, whether it's drugs or alcohol, and you're doing it in excess of, only you can tell what's. Again, I'm not a doctor or nothing, but they say anything more than, for a man, two beers a day, or for a woman, one beer a day, essentially, is considered excess. So only you kind of know where you're at, and I hope this gets to somebody and helps them out before it's too late, and they get the help, or you get the help that you need. All right. Well, I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Talk to you later.